Speaker, I move that this bill be now read a second time. Speaker, this bill will ensure gambling companies are held accountable for the misery they inflict on thousands of Australians by preventing them from profiting from illegal behaviour. Quite simply, the bill puts a positive obligation on gambling companies to report to AUSTRAC if they have reason to suspect a person is paying for a gambling service with money they've obtained illegally. Where a gambler has paid for a gambling service using funds they did obtain illegally, the bill enables the federal court to order the gambling company to compensate the injured party for damage or loss suffered. This will prevent gambling companies from profiting from the misfortune of others and facilitate a remedy for the victim of the original theft. Deputy Speaker, Australians continue to be the world's biggest gambling losers per capita. Indeed, according to the latest figures from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, Australians lose more than $25 billion each year on gambling. And it's getting worse, particularly online, with data in the Standing Committee on Social Policy and Legal Affairs report, You Win Some, You Lose More, Online Gambling and its Impacts on Those Experiencing Gambling Harm, suggesting that participation of Australians in online gambling increased from 12.6% in 2010-11 to 30.7% in 2019. Moreover, recent survey findings from the Australian Gambling Research Centre show that around three-quarters, or 73%, of Australian adults gambled at least once in the last 12 months, and almost 2 in 5, or 38%, gambled at least weekly. And among those who gambled, 46% were classified as being at risk of gambling harm in just the past 12 months. Deputy Speaker, the figures of gambling addiction are well documented and well known, but it's important not to forget the human impact that gambling addiction has. Indeed, I've heard countless stories from people right around the country about the toll it has on people's finances, relationships, employment and mental well-being, and in hundreds of cases leading to suicide. And of course, gambling addiction is second only to drug addiction as a reason for crime, which is where this bill comes in. Speaker, the bill was developed in consultation with Gavin Fenneff, a former financial advisor who defrauded 12 of his clients, stealing amounts ranging from $60,000 to $745,000. In total, Gavin lost $8 million, including $3.3 million of his clients' money, through gambling, and he is now in jail serving a 9-year sentence. Now, Gavin understands he did the wrong thing and takes full responsibility for his actions. But he is not the only one to blame, considering the predatory behaviour of 3 of Australia's largest betting companies who cynically exploited Gavin's gambling addiction. First, there was Tabcorp, where Gavin was quickly promoted to VIP status, assigned a personal customer service manager and offered special treatment, including events, experiences and bonus money to bet with. And no wonder, because Gavin was gambling and losing big time. Indeed, from September 2016 to June 2018, there were 194 times when he deposited $10,000 or more into his TAB account, and 23 times when he made a withdrawal of more than $10,000 from his account, 10 of which were for $50,000. But as Gavin continued to lose money and more money, rather than offering him support, Tabcorp fuelled his growing addiction with bonus money and tickets to sporting events to encourage his gambling. And all the while, Tabcorp never intervened, Deputy Speaker. They never asked Gavin for proof of funds, never asked for proof of income, and never showed the slightest interest in where all the money was coming from. When they finally did intervene, it was, of course, too late, and Gavin had lost almost $4 million. But then, in proof that the industry is systemically and culturally rotten to the core, just 3 weeks after Tabcorp froze his account, Gavin was contacted out of the blue by representatives from Ladbrokes who offered to sign him up with a superior experience, including thousands of dollars in bonus bets. When Gavin disclosed that his Tabcorp account had been frozen, the Ladbrokes representative facilitated an account under a false name. He was never asked for identification nor again asked for any proof of income. But that wasn't to be the end of it, because then along came BetEasy, which has now merged with and is part of Sportsbet. A few months after signing with Ladbrokes, where he had lost close to $700,000, Gavin was contacted, again out of the blue, by gambling company BetEasy, who set up an account for Gavin and gave him $50,000 in free bonus bets, which he lost within the space of 45 minutes. Speaker, over the next 16 months, Gavin lost approximately $3.6 million with BetEasy. And again, BetEasy never asked him for proof of income and only checked his identification in the last 2 months of his gambling with that company. Which brings me back to this bill and the undeniable fact that these companies knew or should have known that Gavin's gambling was suspicious, yet they deliberately targeted him for his addiction, and, Deputy Speaker, that should be a crime. So what about the victims' money? Well, 2 of the companies have kept all the stolen money they received from Gavin, and one of the companies gave just a portion back to the victims, which is obviously not acceptable, but which is all the evidence we need to show that gambling companies should be required by law to return the stolen money to the victims, and that the federal court should have the power to order them to do so. Constructively, this is a view shared by several independent colleagues in the states and territories who are progressing similar bills in their parliaments and assemblies. In other words, Deputy Speaker, change is coming, and the parasites in the gambling industry need to get out of the way, while the Labor, Liberal and National parties need to get on board, because anything less will just go to show how the industry really are parasites and how the government and opposition really don't give a toss about gambling addiction. I now invite the member for Mayo, who is seconding this bill for the 3rd time, I would add, to contribute to the debate in my remaining time. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.